This is a video, like my other videos, discussing the negative effects of overregulation and occupational licensing. I have posted a video before talking about the negative effects and some of the studies related to licensing, that I figured with the growth of licensing and the poor results of reform, I would bring the issue up again. In California, where I'm at, the construction industry is heavy regulated, and any project over $500 requires a contractor's license. And that seems pretty rational on its face, but when you look at other state patterns, other state regulations, what the common practice has been, it's a complete different system. So, and here in California, we're short labor, short housing, high demand, and consumers bear the brunt end. So, obviously, the system that's been in place doesn't work or contributes a lot to the issues. So, I have brought up this issue to the state licensing board multiple times, and there is some work being done on this, but as I have suggested, and some of these studies, so has the White House, more work needs to be done, certainly. Here's a study that I came across. This is from the White House in 2015 from the Obama administration, called Framework for Policymakers on Occupational Licensing. And this work was released in 2015, discussing some of the issues to labor, opportunity, and consumer issues related to licensing in the labor market. And this is some of the study. This is the summary. Over the past several decades, the share of U.S. workers required to hold a occupational license has grown sharply. When designed and implemented carefully, licensing can offer important health and safety protections to consumers as well as benefits to workers. However, the current licensing regime in the United States also creates substantial costs, and often the requirements for obtaining a license are not in sync with the skills needed for the job. There is evidence by studies prepared and given by advocates of reform that licensing requirements raise the price of goods and services, restrict employment opportunities, and make it more difficult for workers to take their skills across state lines. Too often, policymakers do not carefully weigh these costs and benefits when making decisions about whether or how to regulate a profession through licensing. In some cases, and in many cases, alternative forms of occupational regulation, such as state certification or voluntary registration, may offer a better balance between consumer protections and flexibility for workers. This report outlines the growth of licensing over the past several decades, its costs and benefits, and impacts on workers and work arrangements. The report recommends several best practices to ensure that licensing protects consumers without placing unnecessary restrictions on employment, innovation, or access to important goods and services. In order for the economy and the United States to successfully continue to innovate and grow, we must ensure that we are able to take full advantage of all of America's talented labor. By one estimate, occupational licensing restrictions cost millions of jobs nationwide and raise consumer expenses by over $100 billion annually. That's a lot of money. The stakes involved are high, and to help our economy grow to its full potential, we need to create a 21st century regulatory system, one that protects public health and welfare while promoting economic growth, innovation, competition, and job creation. And then there's the fact below. More than a quarter of U.S. workers now require a license to do their job, with most of these workers licensed by the states. The share of workers licensed at the state level has risen 500% since the 1950s. And this is certainly a troubling trend in the land of opportunity, equality, and freedom, in my opinion. So yeah, that was the framework for policymakers, and that was directed towards states and state policymakers, state legislators, to kind of warn them of the issues that are being held to the market and to consumers and how they could avoid it, and what could be done, what reform needs to be done, options for reform. There was also another study I came across, and this was from the Federal Trade Commission, and they have a new department dedicated to occupational licensing and ensuring that system licensing doesn't impact consumers or competition. And in that department, in many of the studies they released, they talk about the importance of competition and how we benefit as a society, as consumers, due to competition between licensed, unlicensed providers, the best and the worst. And then they give an analogy for the readers, for us, and they say, it probably wouldn't be a good idea if we only had one grocery store, or one car dealer, or, in our case, one home builder. There'd be no incentive for selection or to lower prices or to innovate. So, competition is good. It provides us with choices, innovation, competition, and obviously jobs. If you're looking at the labor report,